Hi guys, here I am again with another favorites video. It is November 3rd when I'm making this. I am absolutely shocked and dismayed that October just went by so fast. And as I was kind of thinking through like what I could share with you, I was thinking, oh my gosh, I feel like I just made this, but it's been a month and there have been some fun things that have come into my life that I'm just like excited to chit chat about. And three of them are books and reading related. And then I have one beauty thing and one journaling thing. So I feel like, somehow there's a lot to talk about. Okay, so I will start first, as always, with the books. So my favorite book of the month of October was The Other Girl by Annie Ernaux. That's the latest book by Annie Ernaux, and it came out from Seven Stories Press, which is an incredible press. I highly recommend if you haven't visited their website, like go take a look because they're constantly putting out really excellent work. But this one was like truly amazing. So this is a letter that Annie Ernaux writes to her deceased sister that she never met because the little girl passed away 2 years before Annie was born. And the strange thing about it is that her parents never told her about her sister. As I said, she passed away before Annie was born. And over the years, Annie learns from relatives that they never talked to Annie about her because they didn't want her to be sad about being the sister of a dead child. Which I guess, like, now as a parent, I understand, but also, like, how bizarre. Of course, Annie herself learns about the girl when she's still quite young and then spends her whole life waiting, anticipating, wondering why her parents are not talking about her. And by bits and pieces that are said and unsaid, comes to define herself as different and or similar to her sister, and comes to understand her own existence as only possible because of her sister's death. It's really quite strange and moving, and I thought it was just like a really interesting kind of take on all of those things that happen in families that people end up not talking about. But of course, the secrets are never secrets. We always find out, and even those unspoken things, of course, define us in so many different ways. Um, Annie Ernaux is just so good at just kind of finding that thread and just like picking and pulling and picking and pulling at it. Even when you feel like, okay, there's enough, we've said everything that we can say about this subject, like she will still find more ways to look into it and explore it and think about it. So I think that her work is super interesting to read on its own as a narrative story, but also I think as a writer to kind of learn and like to learn from her and just kind of treat reading her work as an exercise of like how deep an investigation on a single subject can go. It's really fantastic. And if you have not read any of Annie Ernaux's work before, I think that this one actually would be a very good introduction to her style. It's a very short book. It's an extended. It's a long letter, so you can probably just like read this in one sitting, and I think it's really, really, truly wonderful. Okay, so my second recommendation or favorite thing that my favorite thing of the month is something that I'm actually still reading. But I've been reading in bits and pieces here and there. I'm just like loving it so much. And it's this little book, Into the Weeds by Lydia Davis. It's the most, it's her most recent book, and it's published by Yale University Press, and it's part of a Why I Write series. And honestly, I meant to look up and see who else is included in this series, because if they got Lydia Davis, like they probably have excellent other people in this particular series of little books as well. This is a craft novel, a craft book, in which she's just asked that question, why do you write? And she, of course, being Lydia Davis, weirdo, love of my life, she chooses to answer that question by thinking about why she loves to read certain books by certain authors. And the books that she chooses to talk about are just as oddball and, insane as you would imagine a book picked by Lydia Davis would be. But as in addition to the discussion of the books that she loves and why she loves them and what specific writerly things she kind of like notices about them, there's also just tremendous insight into the brain of this amazing author and translator, and how she how writing is her way of processing the world around her. And she uses this really fun kind of language of looking for things that bother her and then writing about them, and how the bother in her life, like that's just like a positive thing to cherish and seek out, which I think is just so fantastic. If you love to read craft books, I think you'd really enjoy this one. But even if you don't, even if you're kind of new to Lydia Davis, I think you'd really enjoy meeting her in this way first. I love her so much. She's so strange. And for someone who has translated some like classic novels that are just such, part of the literary mainstream, her own work is just odd and bizarre and funny and singular in a way that I just completely adore. I highly recommend her. If you like her, you probably would love, if you like her original creative work, you'd probably really appreciate Claire Louise Bennett if you haven't read her already. And if you appreciate Claire Louise Bennett, you would definitely love Lydia Davis. Or at least that's what I think. Tell me if I'm wrong. Speaking of Claire Louise Bennett, so you know that I'm on a Claire Louise Bennett kick because her latest book just came out. I got a chance to talk to Riverhead about it because I am a super fan, and I've been so loud and like obnoxious about my fandom on Instagram and on Substack that they invited me to answer some questions about the book in their newsletter. I will link it below so you can read it. I hope to convince everybody to start reading and enjoying and appreciating her work. But anyway, in Pond, which is Claire Louise Bennett's first novel, she opens up with a discussion on oatcakes and how, ideally you want to eat porridge for breakfast, but if you find yourself kind of looking around and realizing that the day has kind of gotten ahead of you and you haven't had time for proper porridge breakfast, you should probably have a banana and some oatcakes. So like that's like the opening page of Pond. And ever since I read that, I remember thinking, this is really interesting. And I wondered what oatcakes were. I assumed that it was some kind of an maybe Irish, English biscuit kind of situation. And I kept thinking about that, but never really connected the dots. Okay, my phone just came off the window. I apologize for this jarring interruption. So I was saying that in her first book, Pond, she starts talking about the oatcakes. And I was just so curious about those. And I did not bother to really research and see what that was like. But I was really curious about it. And then in the most recent book, she has a long discussion about oatcakes again, and how her I guess, former partner who's much older than her comes over to her house, her being the narrator of the story, comes over to her house and she offers him oatcakes as a snack, but he says that, he tries them and he says that oatcakes are hard for him. And she goes into this like long spiral trying to figure out what he means by that. If oatcakes are just really hard for him because he has some nut intolerances and allergies, or she starts to thinking like maybe oatcakes are hard for him because they remind him of her in some way, and she just like on and on and on she goes, just overthinking it, which is both just like so typical of Claire Louise Bennett's writing, but also just incredibly hilarious and kind of like wavering in that little spot between just like total cuckoo and just profound. It's really representative of her work, and I love that about her writing. So I said to myself, finally, just go out and find some oatcakes because the oatcakes are gonna keep coming up. And I went into my local grocery store, and I found these ones. Okay, I still have some. Now I get them on a regular basis. They're called Effie's Homemades biscuits, oatcake biscuits. They're so good, you guys. I mean, maybe I'm just like sharing something that everybody already knows, but oatcakes are just kind of really crisp and buttery cookies, as we say in the States, and they are just sweet, but not too sweet. And they're crunchy, but not too crunchy, and they're thin, but they're not too thin. I really love them, especially with my coffee. So if you are Claire Louise Bennett fan, especially, you must try them. And if you are an oatcakes aficionado and you have other oatcakes that you need to recommend to me, please do. These are amazing. Okay. Now I have two more things that I want to share with you, and I'm going to move quickly before my phone collapses on me again. I didn't want to do this, but I bought the Rhode Toasted Teddy. Oh, what is it called? Yeah, Toasted Teddy blush. And I love it so much. It's really wonderful. I don't think that this is like a really long-lasting blush. It's a cream blush, but I love this color of like cinnamon, terracotta, brick red color, especially this time of the year. And what I really love about it is that you can wear this without, it's like this combo of like blush and bronzer, which I think is just so nice. You just kind of like remove steps from your like makeup routine. And also I love using this on my lips just as a lipstick. I think that all of these blush stick types always say, you can use it on your cheeks, you can use it on your lips, and for the most part for me, they end up being too dry for my lips. And I think this one is too, but not as drying as my Westman Atelier one. But also I just make sure that like I have chapstick with me and I just kind of apply them intermittently. I really like it. I don't know if it's, I don't know. I don't know if it's worth it, but the color, this specific color is really pretty to me. Anyway. All right. And the last thing I wanted to show you is my new and just perfect journal planner, journaling pen. It's amazing. Okay. I don't know why it took me so long. This is Uniball pen. And as I'm talking to you, I'm discovering very quickly that I'm probably going to need to update my eye prescription. I think I need reading glasses. But anyway, I will share the specific link to this one. I don't think that this is a new pen to people who care about pens, but it just occurred to me that I have, when I'm putting things into my planner, I do this like first pass at the beginning of the week when I'm adding just my items. So I have my personal things. I showed you guys how I do this. Like I have my personal things, and then I have my professional like work things. And then as the week goes on, I'm adding more items to my to-do list, and I'm also checking things off as I complete them. So it's actually super helpful to do that in different color ink, just because it makes it easier to track what the checked off items are or what the new items are. So it just occurred to me to look for a good pen. This one is really thin and it is very, very smooth. And it's actually 3 colors, even though it looks like it's 2. It comes with the red and the blue, and in the middle it's black. I got it from Jet Pens, and I had no business spending any time on that website because in addition to this pen I got many other things, but this is the one that has been the most practical and used of everything that I got. So that's my list, you guys. I will have maybe another little video giving you an update on my planner drama, but I think that has been resolved, and I feel very good about the choice that I made. I feel like I made a very grown-up and mature choice, so you guys will be proud of me. Other than that, I want to thank everybody for sticking around. I would be uploading many more of these videos if I had a better upload speed at home. But unfortunately, living in America sometimes feels like living in the Stone Ages in many different ways. And our internet speed is one of them. So I will hope to share this with you guys this week. And we will see if this video ever makes it on the internet. I thank you so much for following along on my little reading and planning and journaling adventures. And if you have any questions, or if you want me to cover any topics that have come up or you're curious about, let me know. I'll do it. Talk soon.